Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Kapches, President of Chestnut Park Real Estate, and I'm here today to give you your May market report for Toronto and the GTA. Start with very good news. The results in May were substantially better than what we saw in April. April was one of the worst months in the history of record keeping as far as sales were concerned. Market dropped off a cliff as a result of the implementation of the emergency measures, which had not only a psychological impact, but also from a physical perspective, made it difficult for buyers to view properties, to do in-person showings, and of course, all kinds of protocols that had to be implemented that made the showings much more restrictive than, of course, we've ever had in the past. But May, we saw a tremendous recovery, almost a 55% recovery compared to what we did in April. But having said that, the numbers are still not anywhere near historical averages. For example, last year, in 2019, in May, 9,950 properties were reported sold. This May, 4,606 properties were reported sold, which is a decline of almost 54% compared to last May. However, as the month was going on, the number of sales were increasing incrementally, and that has continued into June, which I'll talk about in a moment. Other side of the kind of market equation, that's the sales side. On the supply side, we didn't see very many more properties coming to market, and so as a result of that, we are almost 42% behind the number of properties available for buyers. So what was a real supply crunch even before mid-March, when the emergency measures were implemented, has now become even worse. And I think that's going to continue as we move into the summer months. There's just not going to be enough supply to meet the demand. It would appear, and this report is being made in early June, that the demand has picked up fairly dramatically through the tail end of May and into June, and I think that's going to continue. The problem is going to be satisfying that demand. The fact that there was a shortage of available listings is reflected in the sale price. The actual sale price that came in for the month of May went up by 3% compared to May of last year. So notwithstanding that the number of sales was way down, over 50% compared to last year, the average sale price has held firm. And the reason why it's held firm is because there isn't a lot of choice for buyers. If they are going to buy something, they have to pay the kind of numbers that the sellers are looking for. And I believe that's going to continue going forward. Again, early indicators in June are that pace has picked up into June and probably will continue throughout the remainder of the summer. There is some discrepancy in the marketplace. High end still adjusting to the emergency measures, also impacted by the stock market, the equity markets. Although at the time that I'm presenting this to you, there's been a major recovery in the equity markets, and that's continuing as well. So I suspect that we'll see the high end market, that is properties in excess of $2 million, also picking up as we go along. Certainly picked up from April to May. And when we do the June report, I'm sure it'll be much more positive than it was in the month of May, and definitely much more positive than it was in April. Condominium apartments continue to move fairly strongly. They're up by 5% in terms of their average sale price. Interestingly, the most sought after property are semi-detached properties in the city of Toronto. They were up by almost 9% in terms of their average sale price, now coming in at $1,143,000. There are some areas in the city, in the West End, in the East End, where they're literally flying off the shelf, the semi-detached properties. In fact, if you were to look at the data related to semi-detached properties, particularly in the eastern districts close to the central core, you wouldn't know that we were in the pandemic and that the market had been impacted the way it was in April and in May. It's just a product that everyone seems to want, the semi-detached properties. And as a result of that, now they're selling for way over $1 million. So on the whole, the market is recovering. It's recovering strongly. I think it's going to recover even more so as we get into June. I'm very much looking forward to doing the June report, because I'm sure I'm going to have much more positive data. The resiliency of the Toronto and area market is something to behold, and we're witnessing it literally almost on a daily basis. To conclude, I just want to let you know that early June numbers are indicating that in the city of Toronto, the area code 416, sales are coming in at approximately 100 sales a day. It was in early April that we were averaging just slightly over 30 reported sales a day. So you can see what a tremendous growth in sales has taken place in this 2-month period. And I'm sure that will continue through the rest of June. And I'll be reporting that to you at that time. If you want all the details related to the market, you can go to our website where we have a full market report. And until the next report, stay well, stay safe, and stay alive. Thank you.